It's hard to articulate what you do. I know when I go to networking events and I stand up and speak, or I'm just talking to someone, their attention for X amount of time. And you want to tell them everything you can, but you have to be succinct and concise and targeted. And that is what I think many businesses have a hard time doing. The other thing is consistency. And I mean that in two ways. Consistency with your marketing, literally timeline of when you're putting pieces out into the world, but also consistency in your messaging, your branding, your colors, all of those pieces, so that if someone sees an ad on a website or they see a social post or they see somewhere out in the world, they see your logo, in an instant they know who you are because it's consistent in all places. If you don't have that, that's not going to help.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is the founder of Greenwood Marketing Collective, Courtney Greenwood, a marketing consulting agency focused on mission-driven companies, startups, and health tech companies at any stage, focusing on go-to-market strategies, launches, messaging, positioning, and all the fun stuff that goes into productizing your business. Courtney, so excited to have you on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for asking. We always like to ask our guests, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. What were you doing before that kind of led you into what you're doing now?
Thanks for asking that. Before this, I was always working corporate positions, mostly big tech companies, healthcare, some mission-driven organizations, nonprofits, did some grant writing, although are mostly in the healthcare space. And I learned so much through those experiences, but what always left me feeling a little unfulfilled is that it wasn't my own company. And I always wanted to have my own business and also in the same moment make an impact in either the communities I actually physically live in geographically, but also the greater community at large about helping people get better services and what they need. And what I mean by that is focusing on healthcare or education or mission-driven nonprofits. I want my daily work to make a deeper impact on those around me for the greater good. Working in corporate is amazing and you can do some good there and you can learn a lot. You can climb a ladder, but for me, having the ability to also find a way to now do this is really fulfilling.
That is fantastic. And a lot of us start in some sort of 9-to-5 job or the corporate world, and we're itching for something more. We feel like we've either reached our limit or potential here, or we're kind of striving for something more. Maybe it's time freedom or financial freedom, but you had this crazy idea to want to go into business. So how has that been for you, being like this new entrepreneur from the corporate experience? Tell us what that entrepreneur stage is for you.
It's a journey. I'm sure everyone says that. It is filled with highs and lows. Usually it's a low followed by an extreme high to back down in the valley again. And I wouldn't trade it because I am learning so much every day. I'm challenging myself every day. And basically, when I started this in January of 2024, I had this dream back since I graduated with my MBA. I've had it for too long and I left it on the shelf. I just said, in 2024, let's do this. I need to do this and at least try. The journey has been doing something every day to put one foot in front of the other. Some days it's big things, some days it's little things, but every day making some sort of movement has been the process for me. And also not making myself an island, ensuring that I have a community around me. I'm very big on community. I'm probably going to say that word a lot of times throughout this conversation, but it really is so true because I want to help other people, and I feel a lot of fellow entrepreneurs also want to help others do the same.
Absolutely. I totally agree with the sense of community and just sharing the collective knowledge, the tips and tricks, the mistakes and the successes that we've all had throughout business. We can prevent people from making those mistakes and just get a little bit further, but it's that action and the perseverance that kind of keeps people going. And with your business, this is kind of your own unique opportunity to be your own customer in a sense, because you're now figuring out, okay, I have this service. How do I bring my product and service to the market now? And how would I treat myself? Tell us more about that process. What is it like for a client to come on board? Take me through the process, because I feel like they're lost. They have a great idea, or they're like, I just don't know how to tell people about it or get them to actually buy from me.
That's a great question. And some people come to me and they're already an established business, an established product, and their messaging just isn't hitting right. They're not getting their ideal audience. They don't know who their ideal audience is. They're doing a scatter shot and they think everyone's their audience. And that's the biggest way to fail, or one of the biggest ways to fail. I talk to everyone. But some people come to me for refreshed messaging. Some people need a full go-to-market for their whole business or product. And go-to-market, for anyone listening who's not familiar, I encourage you to Google it and learn more. My product marketing background is what I really attribute my passion for marketing, because there's so many pieces of it that make you look at it holistically. You're looking at it from a messaging framework to how to ready the sales team if you have one, how to get your customer success teams ready. How do you then plan what the actual marketing of the product is? Is there an email campaign? Is there a LinkedIn campaign? Do you have content created? What are you going to have for white papers? What did the beta process look like if you're in software? What did that look like? What can you glean from that and then layer in? It's a lot of different pieces. And sometimes people come and they're already an established company or product, but they want to get into a different industry or vertical. They might come to me if they're looking to get into healthcare, if they're looking to get into ed tech. Then I have experience there and speak some of the language in those different specific industries. I was going to say, working with me is usually a discovery call. We kind of see if it's a good fit, if I actually can provide the services they need, and then see what do they actually need. Some places, they want a full go-to-market support, which I can provide. Other places just want the plan. I will create it and pass it over the fence and offer a consultation along the way. While we do have set services, it's a little bit of choose your own adventure when it comes to some of these aspects.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of businesses are going to appreciate just your flexibility, that you don't need to bring the entire package to the table, that you can pick apart. I've identified the areas that are going to be most impactful.
Yeah.
Let's focus on that first. With your experience both in corporate and now in business, what are they failing at when it comes to them putting their product or service out there?
That's a great question as well. They usually are failing at messaging, because I can attest to this too now that I own my own business. It's very hard to talk about yourself. It's hard to articulate what you do. I know when I go to networking events and I stand up and speak, or I'm just talking to someone, their attention for X amount of time. And you want to tell them everything you can, but you have to be succinct and concise and targeted. And that is what I think many businesses have a hard time doing. The other thing is consistency. And I mean that in two ways. Consistency with your marketing, literally timeline of when you're putting pieces out into the world, but also consistency in your messaging, your branding, your colors, all of those pieces, so that if someone sees an ad on a website, or they see a social post, or they see somewhere out in the world, they see your logo, in an instant they know who you are, because it's consistent in all places. If you don't have that, that's not going to help. I feel like those are two of the big places that people come to me for.
Absolutely. And I think it highlights just the importance of focusing on the client, the customer, the buyer. What is it that they want and need, and what messaging is going to resonate with them? What can we learn from that voice of the customer, from that buyer, to help us craft our messaging and just the way that we kind of approach our launch?
I adore voice of customer interviews and just talking to your clients. It's the number one way you're going to figure out how to get more clients. And it's also a great way to make your marketing easier. They are going to say quotes and comments and talking points that you're not really going to think of, or they're going to phrase it in a way that I may not have phrased it. And that just tells me that other people who are like that person, who is my ideal persona, who's a buyer, would also phrase it as such. You're gleaning all these different bits of information to help you ensure that you are continuing down the right path. Voice of customer work also can help you figure out, what's my next step? What's my next service going to look like? What's my next product enhancement? Where is a mistake in the chain? If you have a customer journey from first talking to sales all the way to purchase, go live, implementation, whatever you want to call it, depending on your industry and business, what's all those touch points look like? That's another place where things can really fall apart, is not having a tight customer journey.
Absolutely. When you're going back to re-educate yourself, the continuing education that goes through, are there certain either YouTube channels, podcasts, books, authors, anywhere you go to find a collective resource that other business owners can use for their product launches, finding the voice of customer and messaging and things like that?
And to one other thing someone said about voice of customer, or a testimonial I got. I don't know if that works.
Absolutely. When it comes to the voice of customer, can you tell me more about either the clients you've worked with and what the feedback we can learn from them?
Sure. One of my clients I worked with recently, and you can see this on my Instagram page, they gave me a great testimonial saying that I really listened to them. And that was one of the differentiators, is that I really sat down, took the time to understand their whole business and really understand who they were. And again, it's hard to market yourself and talk about yourself. Sometimes I'm looking for storytelling as well within what I'm doing for their narrative, for their messaging framework. A client might tell me their why, how they got into it, what their education was, and they might miss some of these through lines that are consistent across everything they're telling me because they're so far in it. They're living this day to day and their brain's going a million miles an hour as an entrepreneur. And they're just missing all of these fun ways we could tie the story together. And that's something that I think is really a differentiator. A lot of people do marketing and messaging, but I really try to listen to not just about the business, but also the owner behind the business or the founder to say, how you opened up this conversation. Why did you do this? How did you get there? Because that's where the real magic is. A lot of ideas out there aren't always revolutionary on their own, but it's the person that's doing it that can kind of make it as such.
Absolutely. I feel like speaking directly to the client or the customer and getting that feedback is the ultimate cheat code. You're learning what phrases and everything that they use to describe an issue or a problem, but directly speaking to them opens up this insight that you wouldn't have gained otherwise. And when it specifically comes to sales, people are too focused on talking about their features and their benefits or talking instead of asking questions. Whereas the sales process is more about the asking questions. I feel like you uncover so much more. And just as your client stated, they felt heard. People wanted to ask them.
Right. Right. And what you just mentioned about features and those kinds of statements, this many gigabytes, it can hold this and that. I always think back to the Apple example. I'm sure you've heard it. And it's basically when they launched the iPod, they didn't say this many gigabytes and the process is this fast. They're like 1,000 songs in your pocket and it's right there. And that is what quantifies it for a buyer. Because at one point, we didn't hold our entire phones and life in this device. We had so many devices. So just like that proof point, that statement in the messaging and the marketing is what really blows it out of the water. And that's the type of things that I want to help people come to in their messaging.
That is wonderful. Now, for those who are interested in getting connected with you and finding you online, where can they reach out and connect?
Sure. You can check out my website at greenwoodmarketingcollective.com. You can find me on Instagram at Greenwood Marketing Collective. I answer DMs there, or you can reach me on email, Courtney at greenwoodmarketingcollective.com.
I love that. And we have some more questions about the products and the launching. I was curious, are there certain channels that you recommend for a business and they've done all the work and they're trying to launch this product? Where do I go to find this buyer or what channel should I use? Is there a tried and true method for finding that channel or the most profitable channel, or should they just try a bunch of tests?
As you'll see, if you look at my website and anything about me, I like to use the word simplify to amplify. I do not recommend to clients trying to be on every channel, every social media platform, or everywhere at once. It's going to leave you tired and just looking kind of disjointed because there's no way without a giant team to keep up with all that. And even if you did have a giant team, that's not the best strategy. You need to do some more persona research, customer research about where your people are. Are they more boomers? Are they Gen Z? Where do they go for information? Is it a product or service that's super local? Well, then maybe you're a building supply company locally, you work in one community, maybe you want to sponsor the Little League team. It's just like knowing where your buyers are. Another example is I have an entrepreneur friend who owns a business optimization and workflow streamlining business. And that's what she does as a consultant. Her audience would be on LinkedIn, but she's trying to get those bigger corporate clients, whereas her audience wouldn't really be on Facebook. That's where people are sharing things. Is that the same type of business done there? It's really just doing that psychographic research to figure out who your client is and where they will be.
Absolutely. I think that's so important when we're trying to decide what we should do a little bit, test things, just find that audience, get in front of the right people, build that network. And I think their content and the way you present yourself, if you're solving a really big pain point for people, people will be knocking down your doors. You'll start to get more organic inbound leads then and just kind of build out your business. I wanted to ask, we're about halfway through 2025. You've been in business for a year now, but what are you looking forward to most in 2025? Do you have any new initiatives or pivots that you're going to be doing, or are you just kind of sticking with the tried and true, everything that's been working so well so far and continuing that?
This year, I'm going to be sticking mostly with the tried and true what I've been doing, but I'm also planning to start offering hourly consultations. What I've been finding, and not to get political by any means, but what I'm finding is that based on the economy and some uncertainties in the world we have right now, some people are a little hesitant to make the investment in marketing because it can come with a big price point and there are no guarantees always. I'm finding that maybe if they have in-house teams, they want to still try to DIY it themselves, but they want to have a little bit of consultation, offering a little bit of light support in that way where they could just book my time on a few hours a week or an hour once a month or whatever works for them. So they can still get the benefit. And that's really more focused for smaller to mid-sized entrepreneurs, small business owners that can't always afford something bigger, but they still want help with their businesses. And again, my altruistic heart is always wanting to help others and support their dreams so they can also win.
Yeah. And you're just like, how do I break down this barrier, this obstacle that people are running into? Let's restructure how we're presenting that and just bring more value to people. I love that strategy.
Yeah. I'm hoping that I can help reach more people and do a little more for the community.
I love that. Now, Courtney, is there anything that we haven't talked about today that maybe you're passionate about or you wanted to discuss or share with the audience of other entrepreneurs who might be listening?
I would just say one of my pieces of advice, I wish I had done it sooner. If you're scared, just start. Wherever you are, just start chipping away at it and go for it. Because honestly, it's not that scary. And what's scarier is waking up at 70 and regretting not trying. People do all kinds of wild and crazy things on the internet and post all sorts of things. And you trying to build a business in public isn't the craziest, weirdest, scariest thing out there. Just do it. Like you even if you fall flat on your face. Who cares? Just go for it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's that action. If we're scared, we could spend all the time building our great idea or the website or what we think people might want, but just go out there and start taking action and get some feedback from the real people who are going to be using your product or service. And suddenly you're going to be growing your network. You're getting real-time feedback from clients, and it's going to help build you up as a business owner, entrepreneur.
If you're going to do it and you're scared, just do it scared. So many people do things scared every day. I do things and I get nervous before I'll get on a webinar or I'm going to speak or something. I will look at my Apple Watch and my heart rate will be a little more elevated than it is doing my normal day-to-day work. I mean, we're all human. We're all going to have nerves. So just go for it.
Even for myself, being in business for 10 years and doing the wedding DJ and podcasting, there's still those nerves and anxiety that come with doing something different or even the same thing. I've done hundreds of podcast episodes, but still there's some butterflies in my stomach when I'm getting to know someone new and throughout the process. But it's that action that creates confidence, creates experience, and then you just build off of that. I would rather have that than not even try at all.
And it only gets easier. The more you do it, you build that muscle. And that's with anything, whether you are fresh out of college, going into a corporate job and you're learning how to live in corporate America, whether you are taking over a family business and now you have a new responsibility, it's going to get easier over time. And then months later, years later, you're going to look back and not even remember when you didn't know how to do the thing you do every day.
Absolutely. Courtney, I love the action and ambition that you take. Welcome to the new world of business ownership and entrepreneurship. It's a crazy journey, but I'm sure you're enjoying that roller coaster ride. So excited to watch that progress that you're going to be making. So thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge and tips and tricks with us.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's been a lovely conversation. I appreciate it.
Of course, same here. Thank you.
Thanks.